This week on Monday Night Raw, we had ourselves a Raw reunion. SmackDown Live had Shawn Michaels on The Miz TV, which he was supposed to be the commentator. 3 guest commentators on SmackDown Live this week with The New Day, Michael Cole, and David Otunga. All of that just led to awful television, even though SmackDown was the better show, as it most likely is every single week. I don't remember since the Superstar draft, the draft in 2016, Raw beating SmackDown, outside of probably the first week after they had the draft, which I think was the week after Battleground. Now, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live had new executive directors, Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff. Paul Heyman has been on the job for at least 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even more. Bischoff just started this week. Raw had their Raw reunion, which was an absolute abomination, whereas SmackDown was a very decent show, especially with Kofi Kingston and Randy Orton and what they did for SmackDown Live and the WWE Championship, which I think is going to be an excellent feud. Only time will tell. But this is Unscripted number 79 for July 27, 2019. We are 2 weeks away from NXT TakeOver Toronto 2 and SummerSlam for 2019. WWE's shot to see what they can do for this month, because coming up in August is going to be a huge month of wrestling. You have the remainder of the G1, NXT TakeOver Toronto, and SummerSlam, NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff, Royal Quest for New Japan, the finals of the G1, which will be happening, I believe, the day after SummerSlam, if I'm correct, and then of course to round it all out at the end of the month. So what is WWE going to do coming out of this upcoming month? Well, we are still in July, so WWE decided we're going to take a week from Monday Night Raw's build, and we're going to go with the Raw reunion, which saw the likes of Mick Foley, DX making everyone look like they're second rate. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin and a bunch of other legends. RVD, who was actually working for Impact Wrestling and contracted to Impact Wrestling, show up, which apparently he had Impact's blessing. I'm sure he had to talk to Ed Nordholm, which I do know before Jeff Jarrett was ousted in Impact Wrestling, that would have been a no-no. But since Jeff Jarrett now works for WWE, and Ed Nordholm pretty much lets his superstars do whatever, or wrestlers do whatever they want, I am not surprised RVD was there, but I shouldn't be surprised, and I'm not really surprised, but it is what it is. The entirety of Monday Night Raw's Raw reunion just showed what is wrong with reunion shows like this. You make everybody on the main roster who are active wrestlers all the time look second rate. You had AJ Styles and the OCs of Gallows and Anderson and Seth Rollins all look inferior to DX and the Outsiders. Plain and simple. When DX came out, when Road Dogg and X-Pac and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall came out to back up Seth Rollins, that made the OCs look inferior. Seth Rollins, after the OCs left, you had the entire DX do a nice big huge group hug, and Seth Rollins is sitting there is like, hey guys, I'm over here. It made Seth Rollins look terribly inferior. The only person who looked good coming out of Raw reunion, who was a main roster stay, was Bray Wyatt. What did Mick Foley do that every other legend didn't do? He put somebody else over by allowing Bray Wyatt, the Fiend Bray Wyatt, hit him with his own move, the Mandible Claw, taking him out. I even mentioned on their YouTube page, their YouTube channel for that segment, that this was the only good thing about this show, and someone said, replied to me, Mick Foley didn't even do anything. Are you kidding me? Mick Foley stood in the ring, let the Fiend come out, put the Mandible Claw on him, and took it, and pretty much got taken out by the Mandible Claw. Absolutely brilliant. Bray Wyatt, again, carrying Monday Night Raw as he does every single week. Other than that, there really wasn't anything on Monday Night Raw. SmackDown Live, on the other hand, yes, you had Shawn Michaels on Miz TV. For what reason, I don't even know. I guess they're continuing the feud with Dolph Ziggler and Miz, even though coming out of that segment, everybody wanted Shawn Michaels versus Dolph Ziggler to happen at SummerSlam. Now, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, that is not happening. Dolph Ziggler versus Shawn Michaels is not on the cards. Shawn Michaels isn't even going to wrestle at SummerSlam. So having him on Miz TV really made no sense. Yes, Shawn Michaels was supposed to be on commentary for the entire show, but apparently, and we'll talk about it in a minute too, Vince McMahon rewrote the entire show, and that's why we got Shawn Michaels on Miz TV, Michael Cole on half of SmackDown, New Day on half of SmackDown, and David Otunga for the entire show. If it wasn't for the commentary for SmackDown Live, SmackDown would have been a better show overall. It was a good show, but it wasn't a great show. One of the biggest things coming out of SmackDown Live is the botch between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, when Mandy Rose came up to Sonya Deville and told her, hey, I've been, using my influences and currying favor, and I got us a tag team match next week. Sonya Deville asked, is it a tag team title match? Mandy Rose said, yeah, and if we win, we deserve a tag team title match. And Sonya Deville looked over to her and just like, yeah, and they hugged and everything. Apparently, that was shot live. There's a reason that WWE tapes most of their promos beforehand. Any promo that you see backstage, 95% of the time is pre-taped. Whether it looks like it's live or not, it's pre-taped. And Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville showed why pre-taped is usually a good thing for those, even though I do like to see when it's live. The Street Profits are something that's always live. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville got that treatment, and I think the next time they go to cut a promo, it's going to be taped beforehand. This week, NXT, of course, had the continuation of the Breakout Tournament in which Jordan Myles beat Angel Garza. When you look back at it, it's probably the right call to have Jordan Myles win the match, and Angel Garza, who was over with the crowd instantly. As soon as he came out, he was over. This guy I could see being brought to NXT TV from now on and be used regularly. And Jordan Myles, the only thing that's wrong with Jordan Myles, originally ACH, is that he smiles too goddamn much. You cannot be smiling that much. I mean, it's like if you're in the middle of a match, and it's something that people gave a lot of criticism to I believe Sarah Lee, the winner of Toughen Up for the Females, back in 2014 is that she would go out there, she would be taking a DDT, and then you would see her smiling. She would get hit in the face, and she would be smiling. Smiling does not need to happen that much in WWE. Finn Balor just shows off his pearly whites every time, because I guarantee you, and I think this is true, when you get to gorilla position about to go out, I'm sure Vince McMahon says, don't forget to smile, pal. And that's why you see people smiling. Ronda Rousey, when she was there, smiled way too much. It's like you had Nia Jax making fun of her right before the championship match, which Nia Jax turned heel for, by the way, and she's coming out smiling. Alexa Bliss, making fun of her. She comes out smiling. Becky Lynch, beats the hell out of her. She comes out the next week smiling. The smiling needs to die in WWE. I don't know what the whole deal is, but WWE's got to get off the smiling train. NXT, of course, and of course the main event was Damien Police versus Keithley, and it's like, I don't know what's gone up with Keithley. I liked the match. The match was fun. The match was absolutely fun. But I don't know what's going on with Keithley. Keithley, yes, he's been injured a little bit, but he wasn't gone for too long. But it seems like WWE and NXT and Triple H at this time has moved on from Keith Lee and has made him the Cassius Ohno of NXT, which is the glorified jobber. I'm hoping that's not right, and hopefully the next time we see Keith Lee, he's winning. I think what they're doing is the fact that you had Keith Lee last week come to talk to Kathy Kelly and tell her that everything's passing me by and I'm not getting opportunities that I was promised. I have a feeling he's going to lose to a up-and-coming face. I don't know who that would be. Maybe one of the breakout tournament guys like Angel Garza, Jordan Miles, Joaquin Wilde, and maybe Jordan Miles. Maybe Jordan Miles will have a match with Keith Lee. Keith loses to him, and then Keith goes off and turns heel. That's what I think we're getting, is Keith Lee is going to be transitioning into a heel. I don't know if the big man has the heel in him, but we'll have to wait and see. That is definitely something we're going to have to pay attention to as we move on into the at the end of summer, into the fall, and into winter. By NXT TakeOver War Games, maybe Keith Lee is in War Games on the heel side, or maybe taking on somebody in a heel role. That is something we'll have to look forward to. Another thing is Io Shirai taking on Kacy Catanzaro, only to be thwarted by Candice LeRae as Candice beat her up. And Mia Yim continues to systematically destroy the horsewomen of MMA as she took out Marina Shafir last week. This week she took out Jessamine Duke, taking a locker and slamming it on Jessamine Duke's arm, causing her to writhe and cry in pain. So that is going to be something we're going to have to look forward to coming up soon. I think that, and this is what I think they're going to do, and I don't think anybody wants this, is the fact that I think Mia Yim's beating Shayna Baszler at NXT TakeOver Toronto. Shayna Baszler's being called up. I don't want none of this shit where it's like Shayna Baszler gets called up and has to forfeit the title. Enough of that. This would be the third time in less than a year, the second time in less than a year that somebody's been called up and did not lose their titles. I'm surprised the Street Profits didn't have to forfeit their titles and couldn't face off the Undisputed Era at TakeOver, which they are doing. But the NXT tapings were pretty much done after the Street Profits made their Raw debut. So she needs to lose the title to probably Mia Yim. People are thinking maybe Bianca Belair will win the title from Mia Yim. No, I think she's going to be a transitional champion to Io Shirai, and Io Shirai is going to take the title. And her and Candice LeRae are going to have a battle up until NXT TakeOver War Games, in which Candice LeRae either beats Io Shirai or Io Shirai takes the chicken heel, the cheap way out, retains her title by hook or by crook, and then we get another match at NXT TakeOver, wherever they're at in January, at the January Royal Rumble weekend TakeOver. And that's where we go from there. We'll have to wait and see. I think that's where we're going. Io Shirai, because you can't have two major heels. Io Shirai is becoming the next big heel while we still have Shayna Baszler on NXT TV. You can't have both of them as heels on NXT television. It's just not going to work. So that is where we're going to go from there. Other than that, nothing really else happened this week. Shane McMahon doing what he usually does on SmackDown, just showing up all the time. Again, Raw Reunion was pointless, and NXT just had a good show. Heyman and Bischoff's backstage roles. New executive directors Paul Heyman and SmackDown executive director Eric Bischoff will be responsible for new merchandise ideas for their brands. The Observer noted that the jobs Heyman and Bischoff are now doing are different from what previous head writers Dave Kapoor, Ed Koskey, and Road Dogg V.G. James have done. They will report directly to Vince and are accountable for their brand's entire interaction with the rest of the departments in the company. Regarding WWE Creative, Heyman will be steering the Red creative process and the creative pitches to Vince McMahon. Koskey will reportedly remain as the lead Red brand writer, but Heyman will be pushing the actual direction. Vince still has a sign-off on everything Koskey and Heyman do. With that said, Heyman and Bischoff were positioned higher than anyone else has ever been in regards to running the two brands. They are now considered major executives in the company and now are responsible for brand management of Raw and SmackDown respectively. So, that makes me think that the OCs, the logo and branding that we saw on Monday Night Raw was done by Paul Heyman, which if it was, then that is a good thing. Paul Heyman is still, in my opinion, not off the hook with the Mike and Maria Kanellis stuff. That shit does not belong on my TV. That shit is absolutely dog shit garbage. I would not want to see that anymore. And if we can do it, we can do without it. And hopefully WWE will be like, yeah, let's drop this. I hope. Speaking of Mike Maria Kanellis, she did spend the night in the hospital on Tuesday, and that's why Mike Kanellis was not on 205 Live. So speedy recovery to Maria Kanellis as we move on here. News on the official first SmackDown Live for Eric Bischoff. This past Tuesday, Bischoff, SmackDown from the American Airlines Arena in Miami, was the first SmackDown taping for the new Blue Brand Executive Director Eric Bischoff. According to PW Insider, Bischoff reportedly sat in on production meetings and was seen spending a lot of time with members of the creative team. But there was no real change to normal SmackDown TV taping process past that. It was also noted that everyone is taking their time with Bischoff's transition, so he will be able to familiarize himself with the way everything is run. Bischoff, who did appear on Monday Night's Raw for the Raw Reunion Special, visited HQ in Stamford, Connecticut last week and said his official start date was this past Monday. He spoke out about his gig during the recent 83 Weeks podcast. Honestly, he says, and I quote, "Honestly, I hate to keep talking about it because it's redundant, and I've said it 1,000 times to myself and to others over the past couple of weeks, but it's still surreal to me in many respects," Bischoff said. even more so. That's just walking around the offices and getting my own offices surreal. And you know what? I've got to say this. As excited as I've been with different opportunities in my life, I've never been as excited as I am now. I feel like a kid again. It's cool. It's so cool. I'm so excited about this opportunity and the people that I get to work with. Now, of course, Bischoff is going to take a transition period. Paul Heyman has been inside WWE's inner workings at least the last 2 or 3 years. He's been in WWE, or back in WWE since 2012, when about a week or two after Brock Lesnar came back. To most people probably don't know, Paul Heyman was not supposed to be a part of Brock Lesnar's act when he came back in 2012. But after about a week or two, Paul Heyman got a call from Brock Lesnar, who told him, Paul, get a deal, because I don't want to do this talking shit. Because anybody who doesn't know, Brock Lesnar does not like to talk. He doesn't like to talk unless he has to. And with Paul Heyman being there, he doesn't have to talk as much, if at all. So that is why Paul Heyman has been back in WWE since. Of course, Paul Heyman, for the most part, has stayed away if Brock Lesnar is not around. But now that he's executive director of Monday Night Raw, he's going absolutely nowhere. Of course, he worked with Aleister Black. He's worked with, I guess, Lacey Evans, Ronda Rousey, of course, and a couple others around just helping with their promos, which is good because Paul Heyman is good at that. He wants promos to be bullet pointed and no longer being scripted as much, which hopefully happens. Bischoff, on the other hand, who knows what's going to happen with this guy? Yes, he needed to interact with the creative guys and girls to try and get a feel of what to do, especially if they do eventually let him off the leash and give him full creative control of SmackDown Live, of course, going through Vince McMahon. Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are still not going to get to do everything you think they're going to do. Vince McMahon has the final say on everything. If he doesn't want Eric Bischoff or Paul Heyman to do anything, then they're not going to. So that is that. Moving over to SmackDown Live and why there were changes to SmackDown Live and why Corey Graves wasn't there. The WWE SmackDown episode that made it to live this year was completely different than the show that was written. Of course it was. Of course it was. Raw has had different times where, and of course it's come out as well, that Raw has gone until the last second, even as the show is going on, the script isn't done. So this doesn't surprise me. Vince McMahon showed up at 4 p.m. as he does, and decided that he didn't like the show that was written, so it was redone. Vince reportedly made several changes from 4 p.m. after 4 p.m., which is why the Daniel Bryan career-altering announcement was delayed again, which this career-altering announcement is kind of getting to the point that it's like, what are they going to have him say? I want to know what he's going to say. Which, when it comes to Daniel Bryan, a career-altering announcement could be him retiring, him leaving WWE, him just transitioning into something else, maybe a manager role for Eric Rowan. We don't know. I didn't even realize that this career-altering announcement was supposed to happen until I read about the news for this. I didn't see it in any of the advertisement. I didn't see it in an advertisement on Monday Night Raw. The only thing I saw for Monday Night Raw for SmackDown was Shane McMahon getting a hold and talking about what happened with Kevin Owens. Oh, by the way, Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon. If Kevin Owens loses, he quits. What is Kevin Owens going to do if he wins? What's going to happen? What's Shane going to do if Kevin Owens quits? I don't care. So that is that. But of course, as we knew, Shawn Michaels was supposed to be on commentary, and that did not happen. Shawn Michaels was supposed to be on commentary, but that did not happen. We got Michael Cole, New Day, and David Otunga. And honestly, I think I would have taken Shawn Michaels over the New Day. The New Day were acting way too too childish. We got Shawn Michaels in a Miz TV segment, which, if you're not building to Dolph Ziggler versus Shawn Michaels at SummerSlam, what was the goddamn point? Corey Graves missing this week's SmackDown. Word is that he was filming a WWE studio movie in Vancouver, according to the Wrestling Observer. Renee Young is believed to be filming the same movie this week. As noted, Byron Saxton missed the show due to his father's passing. Thoughts and prayers go out to Byron Saxton and his family. Never fun to hear somebody has lost a member of their family. It's just not. Michael Cole and David Otunga worked commentary with Tom Phillips on the show, and SmackDown Tag Team Champions Xavier Woods and Big E also helped. As noted, this week's episode from Miami was the first that saw Eric Bischoff sit on the production meetings. Bischoff was seen spending a lot of time with the members of the creative team, while Bischoff spent time at the meetings with the writers. The Observer reports that he had no creative input in the show itself, at least as far as any of the sources could tell, which, not surprising. Eric Bischoff is going to be a baby steps kind of guy. And if Vince McMahon rewrote this entire show, why can't we get this more often than we do? This show, you had continuity. You had continuity. You had Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston have a verbal session, a promo against each other. Kofi bringing up what happened almost 10 years ago when he put Randy Orton through a table in November of 2009, and that was supposed to be his skyrocket to the top. And of course, Randy Orton saying, "Yeah, I used my influences to keep you down because you weren't ready then, you weren't ready now." That was one of the best promos I've seen in a long while from Randy Orton or Kofi Kingston. That was the best promo in all of Kofi Kingston's time as WWE Champion. I can't wait to see where this goes. You had Randy Orton gave RKO to Samoa Joe, and of course Trouble in Paradise from Kofi Kingston to Randy Orton. It was stuff like that, but one of the biggest problems coming out of SmackDown was, and I mentioned this at the opening of Tuesday's review when I did it on Wednesday, Ember Moon versus Charlotte Flair went 60 seconds or less. That is unacceptable. There was a hashtag Give WWE Women's a Chance, which as soon as Ronda Rousey left, WWE went back to, we don't care about the women's division. The only reason the women's division got elevated in WWE was because Ronda Rousey was there. Ronda's not there anymore. Vince McMahon does not care about women's wrestling. Vince McMahon has never cared about women's wrestling. But when you have the biggest name in the women's division ever on your roster, you have to crack a smile and pretend like you care. Vince does not care. Stephanie might care. Triple H might care. Even Michael Hayes or any of these other people who out in the back might care about women's wrestling. Vince does not. Now, we'll talk about in a minute what's going on with Charlotte Flair for SummerSlam, but that is exactly what happened, and it's not good. The women's evolution is dead. If they mention it ever again, just sit there and laugh about it because it's not a thing anymore. The women's evolution died with Ronda Rousey. We're back to 60-second matches for women, or 20-minute boring matches with Alexa Bliss in a wrestling ring, which Alexa Bliss cannot fucking wrestle. And anybody wants to ask why she cannot fucking wrestle, just watch her matches. Especially if it's a multi-person match. She's going to get booked to sit on the outside and do absolutely nothing. And you're wondering, well, that doesn't prove that she can't wrestle. The reason that they book her that way is because they have to hide her flaws. Alexa Bliss cannot wrestle. Putting somebody in a rest hold for like 15 minutes and running outside to hide is not wrestling. That is just being lazy, and you need to get out the fucking ring. Raw reunion does best number in 11 months. Why it does not matter. Monday Night Raw's big reunion episode featured return of several top legends and superstars, including Hall of Famer Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan, drew a 3.093 million views, according to Showbuzz. This is up 26% from last week's 2.453 million viewers. That number is just a blip. That number does not matter in the grand scheme of things. This is the best viewership and the first time Raw has hit 3 million viewers since the post-SummerSlam 2018 episode of Raw on August 20th, which drew 3.095 million viewers. It topped the post-WrestleMania 35 edition episode of Raw, which averaged 2.924 million viewers by 6%. But here's another thing. Last major Raw featuring a host of former legends, Raw 25, in January 2018 averaged 4.53 million viewers, beating last Monday's Raw by 32%. The show went like this. First hour, 3.019. Second hour, it's up from 2.3979. Second hour drew 3.178, which is up from 2.503. And the final hour drew 3.083, which last week's third hour drew 2.478. Why doesn't this matter? Because who was on the show? How is WWE going to take the momentum of a 3.095 to next week? They're not. You're not going to see Austin next week. You're not going to see DX. You're not going to see him advertised. You could have, even if Stone Cold Steve Austin himself just showed up on a whim, that wouldn't make a damn difference because nobody knew he was there. If Stone Cold showed up in the last hour without being advertised, the show's not going to see a ratings boost. If anybody at USA Network or WWE's Titan Towers is throwing a fucking parade because they hit a 3.095, they are out of their goddamn minds. When the number drops below 2.5 again, that would be a 26% drop. This rating meant nothing. This rating would mean absolutely nothing. It's like, I don't get why everyone's like, oh my god, they finally, the ratings are great, ratings are up, the rating went up huge. It doesn't matter. If they go from a 2.4 to a 3.0 back to a 2.4 or even lower, then this meant nothing. If the ratings go to fall again, that means nothing. Of course, this is SummerSlam build. The build to SummerSlam, the 4 weeks build to SummerSlam is always interesting because SummerSlam is the second biggest show of the year. After SummerSlam's over, Vince McMahon goes on autopilot and nothing gets better. It's just going to go downhill and the ratings are going to die. When Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff look like failures, don't blame Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman. Everything goes through Vince McMahon. Everything always goes through Vince McMahon. The only reason, and Vince McMahon said it himself, is so he would, like, the only reason these two were hired is so, and he put it this way, so he wouldn't have to be in the weeds anymore. Pretty much meaning, if the shows start to fail and we need to criticize anybody, he wants us to criticize Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff, not Vince McMahon. I'm sorry, I'm not that stupid. If the show goes to shit, I'm still blaming Vince McMahon. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Vince McMahon runs these shows, and he's going to run these shows until he is 6 feet under, until he has a heart attack in the chair. Hopefully not during an episode of Monday Night Raw, because you know things will go bad then. But Vince McMahon, until he'll die in the chair. XFL be damned, he is going to die in that chair. A lot of, like, the Monday Night Raw we saw, though, was not supposed to be the Monday Night Raw we saw. There was a lot of creative headaches, and it wasn't because of Vince McMahon for once. We're going into Monday Night Raw's reunion specials that there were evidently a ton of headaches in putting the big event together. According to F4W Online, it was noted that WWE had to rewrite more than one segment for the last Monday's show because the talent that were involved were flagged by WWE Medical, keeping them from doing anything physical. There's no word yet on which segments and talents those were, but I'll keep you updated. There was also several segments that had to be changed at last minute for last Monday's show, which does happen other weeks. It was also said that these segments changed, but not because of Vince McMahon, but due to things that medical wouldn't allow it to happen. It was noted, word is that one of the changes had to do with Hall of Famer Rikishi not getting cleared, according to Dave Meltzer. I don't get this one at all, but according to Dave Meltzer, the original plan was for the Usos versus Raw Tag Team Champions, the Revival, had Rikishi delivering a stink face to the Revival and Devon Dudley. No word yet on why doctors wouldn't clear Rikishi, but he was unable to perform the one move. Unless Rikishi has something wrong with his legs and his lower half, I don't understand why this wouldn't have been able to happen. Would it have been funny? No, because the stink face is 20 years old. No one gives a fuck about it anymore. But that one was just weird. The other one that I can think of is Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe were unable to do anything really physically. They are in the 70s or 80s. There was no goddamn way those two were going to be able to do anything physical. That's the reason for the Phantom title change that saw Briscoe take the 24/7 title from Patterson. WWE cut to a backstage segment where Patterson was already down for the pin, and Briscoe would then drop the title to Kelly, and the night ended with R-Truth as champion. So I can imagine most, if not every segment they wanted to do was canned because of WWE Medical. This isn't 10, 15 years ago where these talents like Gerald Briscoe and Pat Patterson or Rikishi or any of these other guys could just do whatever they wanted willy-nilly because WWE's medical team wasn't up to where it is today. WWE should have known that they couldn't do half of what they wanted to do with these legends. The legends are getting old, and they're not getting any younger. The legends are going to end up... It's like WWE is running out of time for these legends to be even relevant. doing something like the 24/7 changes where you had Joe Briscoe win it, Pat Patterson win it, Kelly, Candice Michelle, and Avenger Braves win it, didn't need to happen. It was an absolute joke. But they did it, and that's what we got. There was one Hall of Famer missing, or not Hall of Famer, but one legend missing that everybody's asking, where was Sid? Where was Psycho Sid? Former two-time champion Psycho Sid was the only legend advertised for the Raw reunion that did not appear. While no specifics were given, Sid reportedly pulled out of the show several days before Raw. WWE apparently knew that Sid would not be appearing before they created the graphic for the Raw reunion show, and which was released last week. Sid was also not featured in updated promotional material. Since leaving in 1997, Sid has only appeared on a pair of Raws in 2012 as part of Raw 1000, defeating Heath Slater on an episode leading up to the special and appearing on Raw 1000 itself, where several legends beat up Slater. That stuff was just so bad. But yeah, so who knows why? Maybe he just maybe somebody talked him out of it. Maybe he had some personal reasons. No idea. But Sid wasn't there. Everyone wanted to know why. He pulled out a couple days beforehand. If they knew before they put the shirt out and he's on the shirt, why would you do that? The next one, this next story, why is this still happening? Jimmy Uso is arrested again for DUI. That's twice this year. Raw superstar Jimmy Uso was arrested for driving under the influence near Pensacola, Florida earlier this week, according to TMZ. Uso was booked at 3:04 a.m. Eastern and charged with DUI, driving with an unlawful blood alcohol level. Uso will stand in jail as a press time with a bond set of $1,000. This past Monday, and this is sad because this past Monday, the opening segment saw John Cena rapping and joke about both brothers' past arrest. Of course, he said, "Respect for calling me out, but ain't no way I'm getting bested. You all look like your mugshots. How was it getting arrested?" They had a dumb look on their face, and then they just sat there and laughed about it and thought it was funny. This is not funny. Jimmy Uso, this is twice in 1 year. He got arrested in February. Of course, he wasn't driving. Naomi was driving the last one, but he got arrested for public intoxication. That is twice this year. That dude needs to get help. Drinking is not worth it. I'm the closest you can get to straight edge. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, but I don't tattoo my body or anything. This guy needs to be helped. This guy needs to go to rehab or something. This guy apparently was doing 85 in a 45 lane, swerving back and forth. He's going to end up killing somebody. And WWE puts out a statement like Jonathan Fatu is responsible for his own actions. There has to be repercussions. This is twice in a year. This guy needs to be suspended indefinitely until he goes to rehab. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That takes Jay off the card and he goes do commentary or something. This needs to be addressed by WWE. Jeff Hardy got caught drinking and got caught passed out a couple days before Raw. This is just something that needs to stop. If you're that, you have Jimmy has a wife, Naomi, and he has a fucking career in WWE. It's probably a lot of us wanted to see the Usos not be signed with WWE and go to Jacksonville to be part of All Elite Wrestling and wrestle the Young Bucks, the Lucha Bros, and all that. If this is how Jimmy's going to keep acting, I don't want to see him go anywhere else because honestly, he's just as much a danger anywhere else. He needs to get help, and hopefully he can get some help. And WWE's got to do something else. This is twice in a year. And none of this, he's responsible for his own actions, BS. You are a multi-billion-dollar company, and one of your main stars continues to screw up. You need to do something about it, WWE. Suspend the guy. I won't say fire him because that's not a fireable offense unless he kills somebody or hurts himself. But get this guy suspended and make him go to rehab, or if you have to fire him, you have to fire him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is unacceptable. Twice in 1 year. Your life and anyone else's life. Your wife, your life and any other person that you're passing while you're drinking is not worth the wrecking. Your career is not worth throwing away for a little bit of alcohol. Jonathan Fatu, you need to get yourself help. You need to get your shit together, because this is unacceptable. Trish Stratus. Is Trish wrestling at SummerSlam? Hall of Famer Trish Stratus is currently in talks to wrestle a singles match at SummerSlam, according to Pro Wrestling Sheet. There's no word yet on who Stratus will be wrestling, but it looks like she is going to be up against Charlotte Flair. Tuesday SmackDown features Charlotte ranting about being left off SummerSlam and demanding to be put on the card, and says she will prove why she's the greatest female of all time. She also said her opponent will be better than Ember Moon, as Bayley and Ember Moon are going to have a match, of course, for the title. Flair also took Twitter out there and said, "Queen of all eras of women's wrestling, hashtag SummerSlam." Of course, SummerSlam takes place on August 11th from Trish's hometown of Toronto. This is one thing that it's like, this shows how much WWE favors Charlotte Flair. Why would Charlotte Flair be taking on Trish Stratus? Because they want that notch in her belt. Everything that WWE does with Charlotte Flair is to get her to seem to fans to accept her as being better than her daddy. She's going to be a 17-time women's champion before she retires. She's going to be in the main event again at WrestleMania, probably by herself against somebody else, like Ronda Rousey or something, because that's what WWE's plan was until Becky Lynch got as hard as she did. The only positive I see to this is the fact that this is going to keep Charlotte Flair out of Ember Moon versus Bayley. I talked about it with SmackVille, which goes on tonight, that I was hoping and praying that Charlotte Flair would not be added, and with them having a match with SmackVille with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair taking on Bayley in a triple threat match for the title, I could totally have seen them give Charlotte Flair the championship and then make it a triple threat match. Hopefully that is not going to happen, and it doesn't look like it. If Charlotte Flair goes up against Trish Stratus, the only positive thing I see is the fact that Charlotte is not going to be in the SmackDown Live Women's Championship match going into SummerSlam. Just, there we go. That's only positive I see. Does it show favoritism to Charlotte Flair? Yes, it does. Should Trish Stratus be coming back to wrestle anymore? If she can go and actually give us a good match, then by all means come back. But other than that, I really don't care. I want WWE to worry about the superstars of tomorrow, today, and the future. I don't want to see yesteryear coming back again and again and again. What is Vince McMahon going to do when The Undertaker can't go anymore? What's he going to do when Goldberg can't go anymore? Or Triple H can't go anymore? Or Shawn Michaels can't go anymore? Or Trish can't go anymore? What is he going to do when all the people he keeps reaching into that nostalgia cookie jar and there's no more cookies left? What is he going to do? He's going to look at the crop of talent he has now and be like, shit, none of these guys are as over as Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H was at one time, The Undertaker, because you wouldn't let them. Charlotte Flair, Trish Stratus, it's not going to be a match that everyone's going to look forward to, but if it keeps Charlotte Flair out of the Women's Championship match, what can we say? Ratings are down double over the last year, but WWE, for some reason, sees positives in the numbers. The WWE announced their earnings for the second quarter on Thursday. Television ratings for both Raw and SmackDown were down double digits from the prior year quarter. Raw averaged a 1.99 rating, down 14% from the 2.33 in 2018. SmackDown averaged a 1.7 quarter rating, Q2 rating down 11 from the 1.91 in the same period last year. The decline in television ratings for both shows exceeded an 8% drop in cable television rating during the same quarter. Co-President George Barrios did see some positives regarding the television ratings. It was noted that the decline in ratings was getting better as the quarter went on. While Raw was down 21 in April of the prior year, it was down 8% in May, 11% in June. SmackDown was down 19 in April, 8 in June, and 8 in May and 7 in June from the same period last year. During the quarter, cable TV ratings were down 12% in April, 9 in May, and 7 in June. So the declines for Raw and SmackDown in May and June were more in line with cable. WWE also compared the decline from Q1 to June alone, stating that Raw's declined 14 in Q1 from the prior year quarter, but improved to a year-over-year decline of 11 in June. The same goes for SmackDown, which declined 13 in the first quarter 2019, but improved the decline of 7% in June, consistent with the ratings performance of the top 25 cable networks, which declined 7% during that month. But you compared Raw and SmackDown from quarter 1 to June, but you didn't compare the top 25 cable to the 7% in June, so you don't really know that much. It is noted that the ratings for Q2 was still down 8.3% from Q1 for Raw and 4 for SmackDown. We have definitely turned the corner, CEO Vince McMahon said. We have executive directors for each brand now, notwithstanding that we have spent more time on storylines, good ones, absolute bullshit. Namely, someone in the comment section, please tell me what good storyline they have had since this entire year. There has not been one good fucking storyline that they have not fucked up this year. Also, talent development is a combination of a lot of things. All good things thus far coming together is what I guess I'd call a relaunch in regards to our content. One thing that I've noticed in my research is that the ratings for Raw have improved since WWE stopped having wrestlers doing commercial breaks, with the exception of inset ads. Since the Superstar shakeup in April, Raw's ratings have been an average of 3% higher for the episode following the change, excluding last week's Raw reunion, which would make it 8.2% higher. WWE cannot use this week's episode of Raw, especially if the ratings drop again next week, because this week is an aberration, just an aberration. SmackDown has only been up 0.5% since the change, although the past 2 weeks have garnered the largest audience since the Superstar shakeup. Yeah, SmackDown has been down, except for the last 2 weeks. For 5 weeks straight, SmackDown was down in the ones, almost like below the 2, so it was not good. Bray Wyatt also noted that ratings for July are up 1% from the prior year quarter, but he admitted it was bolstered by last week's Raw reunion. The audience for the Raw reunion special was up 11 from the same week in 2018. Without that episode, the ratings for July are down from the prior year quarter, which they did not put what it was. God, I can't wait till we get to the fourth quarter and we get to the second half of the third quarter, because when SummerSlam disappears, when SummerSlam is in the rearview window, we see Baron Corbin last year being the constable and running Monday Night Raw into the ground. They go on their SummerSlam, like they go on like autopilot. Everything we see from the 12th, I think it is August, all the way to Royal Rumble season, is just going to be the same shit regurgitated over and over. The ratings have only been up because WWE continues to bait and switch everybody and people keep falling for it, and because everyone wants to see what Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman are going to do. They need to start bringing you the fire, the heat, or WWE is going to not do anything eventually. And again, this is SummerSlam build. The 4 weeks between the last pay-per-view and SummerSlam are the highest rated for the summer every single year, because everyone wants to know what's going to happen at SummerSlam. So far, SummerSlam, outside of Ember Moon versus Bayley, and Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston, and of course Natalya versus... There's going to be a lot of... a lot of rematches on SummerSlam. Nobody cares about Natalya versus Becky Lynch. The only 2 matches that people are going to care about are going to be Kofi versus Randy, because of the history between those two, and Ember versus Bayley, because we know how good Bayley and how good Ember Moon is, and they should be able to knock it out of the park. We'll see what happens, but I guarantee you, and of course they expect SmackDown to get the best, have huge ratings when they get to Fox. The thing they need to realize is Fox is going to be watching them like a hawk. And you're going to be on Fridays, and they're going to try and target the teenage demographic. Gee, you have a bunch of horny 14 to 18-year-olds you want them to stay home instead of going out and, trying to find some girl to get into her pants. I think they're going to go do that over watch SmackDown Live. SmackDown is going to be on an uphill climb for Fox. People, yes, there's guys out there who watch football for college, and they watch the NFL on Thursdays and Saturdays for college and Sunday for NFL. SmackDown is going to be in between that. Do you really think that most people are going to want to stay home? And they want to target the teenage demographic. You have to go there and be like, listen, Hey teenagers, stay home and watch SmackDown where you're going to see some of the best action out there. Don't go out and hang with your friends. Stay at home or bring your friends over here so you can watch SmackDown Live. The demographic, and this is the problem with Fridays and trying to go for the teenage demographic. Fridays is the day that, and especially from August up until June, like May or June, when people are in school, Fridays or when school is out for the weekend, especially in the United States, school is out. They'll want to go away and hang with their friends. They'll want to go, do what they want to. They want to go hang out with their friends, go party, go to bonfires, go to football games if you have high school football, which, yes, high school football happens on Fridays. A lot of people in August and early September and maybe October, if your team is good enough, go watch high school football over Monday night, over SmackDown Live. They've got an uphill battle, and they're going to have to fight every which way. And yes, one of the first SmackDowns in October, like early November, is going to be preempted for the World Series. So this is just going to be one of those things that I don't like. Yes, they have a bigger market now because they're going on to Fox, and you don't have to have a cable box to watch Fox. You can just go to your local Family Dollar or Dollar General, buy a thing of Aberdeen, plug it into your TV, and you have Fox. Doesn't mean people are going to stay home and watch SmackDown Live. There is so much that goes on Fridays that they are going to be struggling from the get-go. Ratings are going to be a big thing, and if SmackDown, because SmackDown hit the twos 2 weeks last week and hit the twos this week, if SmackDown drops below, because I'm pretty sure Fox wants a 3.0 or 3.5, if they drop and continue to drop and then they go to Fridays and they continue to drop, Fox will cancel them like that. We'll have to wait and see. But ratings are down, but they see positives because, hey, we found a solution. It's not because of storylines, because for the first 3 weeks after Money in the Bank, we told you that Brock Lesnar is going to cash in on Monday Night Raw over and over and over again. And you know what? People believed you, and I don't know why. The only people by now who should be watching SmackDown Live or Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live are content creators, and that's about it. Content creators and podcasters who don't really do content creating on YouTube or Twitch. The updated ticket sales for Madison Square Garden for Raw and SmackDown Live. This is not looking good for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. It was reported earlier this month WWE will be returning to Madison Square Garden in New York City for TV tapings on Monday, September 9th and Tuesday, September 10th. Back-to-back Raw and SmackDown MSG tapings are the first since Raw was taped on November of 2009, so about 10 years. Of course, November 2009 would be when Kofi Kingston put Randy Orton through that table, so a little correlation there. WWE's last show at the venue was a post-Christmas live event this past December. WWE will run MSG a few days before AAA's debut at the arena on Sunday, September 15th. A week before, New Japan runs a show at the nearby Hammerstein Ballroom on Saturday, September 28th. On the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, it was said that ticket sales have been not good, although specific ticket sales were not given. Neither show has been sold out yet. Dave Meltzer reported that Raw was expected to be an instant sellout, and has been viewed as exceeding disappointing, and that didn't take place. Meltzer also noted WWE's goal for these shows were to have fast sellers like New Japan and Ring of Honor did for the G1 Supercard this past April. WWE was hoping to have a 15-minute instant sellout to show big demand for the product, but that doesn't look to be the case. Overpricing and scalpers having a lack of interest in scooping up tickets looks to be a possible reason why. Why would you want to spend an overpriced ticket to go to Madison Square Garden? A reason that WWE has not brought a pay-per-view to Madison Square Garden since I think Survivor Series 2015 or something like that, or 2010 or something, is because they the building is expensive as hell to rent out of. The tickets are always expensive as can be. There was absolutely no way they were selling this place out. The reason the G1 Supercard sold out, and I'm going to be brutally honest, the reason the G1 Supercard sold out is because of Kenny, Cody, Matt, Nick, and Hangman Page were still on the Ring of Honor roster when that happened. I believe they sold the tickets last September. Nobody knew what Kenny, Cody, Matt, Nick, and Hangman Page were going to be doing at that time. I think they sold the tickets out right after All In was done. We didn't know about All Elite Wrestling. All Elite Wrestling wasn't a thing yet. At least to us. I'm pretty sure it was to everyone else who were there. But that was an instant sellout because it was New Japan with Okada and all those. You had Ring of Honor, which Ring of Honor has kind of peaked since that day, but that's neither here nor there. There was a lot more interest in that show, and it was history. The G1 Supercard was historic because it was the first show since WCW closed, which I don't think it was the first show in decades that wasn't a WWF or WWE produced show in Madison Square Garden. Those were always going to instantly sell out. I think Kenny Omega, Kenny the Young Bucks, the Kenny Young Bucks, Hangman Page, and Cody did have a little bit help in that because of who they are, and they were still on the Ring of Honor and New Japan rosters at the time. But yeah, that particular was going to sell out immediately. This is same old Monday Night Raw. Nobody's going to give a shit. Nobody's going to give a shit to go to a boring, bland Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live. And they thought this was going to be done in 15 minutes. Give me a goddamn break. 10 years ago, maybe you would have sold out Madison Square Garden. You probably did in 2009. Tickets have gone up. The interest for the product has gone down. The demand for the product has gone down. And this just shows you, this is WWE's backyard, and they couldn't sell out the place. What does that tell you for the demand of WWE? There is no demand. Vince McMahon just needs to get that through his head. They'll probably sell out before the end of the show, before this day, because it is in September. But it's not going. It wasn't an instant sellout, and I knew it was not going to be an instant sellout. What I would fucking love to see is that they don't sell another single ticket, and whatever they have there is going to have to be tarped off, or they're going to have to work their magic. And then we'll see pictures on Twitter showing how piss poor sold they were. People don't go to SmackDown Live half the time as it is anyway, so I don't think they're going to sell that out at all. And you really think New Yorkers are going to want to go to back-to-back Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live tapings for WWE? Give me a break. If you want people to come to SmackDown Live after Monday Night Raw, you better give them the best show you have ever had for Raw and SmackDown Live. Plain and simple. It better be the best show. I don't mean bring back legends. Don't bring back fucking Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold Steve Austin. But you better have the best logically booked show that makes sense from start to finish and is actually great. Then people are like, wonder what's going to go on SmackDown, I'll go there. But if you give us the same bland, piss-poor Monday Night Raw that you give us every single week, do you really think anyone's going to want to come back the next night and watch SmackDown? Give me a fucking break. Possible FS1 studio name revealed for WWE. They filed a trademark, the WWE After the Bell name, last week. There's no word yet on what the trademark is for, but speculation is that this could be the name for the WWE studio show that will premiere on Fox's FS1 later this year. It has been reported that the studio show will be hosted by Renee Young. Now, if they bring her in to do the studio show, is she going to be taking off Monday Night Raw? We can all wish, right? We can all hope, right? It was noted Triple H revealed back in April that the weekly show will be in air on FS1 on Tuesday nights beginning in the fall. The show will feature discussions on the various WWE happenings plus an appearance by familiar faces from the past and present, according to Triple H. So, if that's the name of it, so be it. I don't know. After the Bell, okay, that sounds like a studio show. I just have a feeling with the fact that WWE canceled Talking Smack and the pre- and post shows for each Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, which at the time SmackDown, when the network debuted, SmackDown didn't need a before the bell or after the bell show. But now that it's live, I guess they could do it if they want to. But they got rid of Talking Smack, they got rid of Monday Night Raw Talk, or whatever they wanted to do. If it's real and it has a little bit of sense of realism to it, Vince McMahon's going to want to kill it. Unfortunately, this is on FS1, and WWE's not going to have that ability to. Vince isn't going to be able to call up FS1 and be like, hey, Fox, I want to cancel After the Bell. It's too real. I can't have it on my show. We're not real. We're imaginary. It's just not going to work. As long as the show gets any type of rating, it's going to stay. FS1, compared to Fox, I don't think really the ratings really don't matter as much as they would for SmackDown Live. That is going to be interesting, but what do you think of WWE After the Bell? This one makes me excited. I'm so fucking excited to see her back. Tegan Nox makes her return to the ring on Thursday. This is a live event in Orlando, Florida. I am so happy to see the girl with the shiniest wizard back. I have been a fan of Nixon Newell, aka Tegan Nox, since her What Culture Pro Wrestling days. That battle between her and Bea Priestley and that last woman standing match was just awesome. So it's great to see her back. She has been through hell since signing with WWE. Fucked up her one knee before the first Mae Young Classic. Fucked up her other knee in the second Mae Young Classic. So it's great to see her back. She teamed with Jessi Kamea to defeat Aaliyah and Vanessa Bourne. She got the pin for her team. She signed back in 2017 and was set to perform for the first Mae Young Classic, but she had to pull out before the tournament because of a torn ACL. She returned to the ring in April 2018, but has been out of action since August after suffering multiple knee-related injuries during the 2018 Mae Young Classic. That match between her and what was her name? Her and who she faced in that, like, when you saw her go for that suicide dive in the beginning of the match, and you just saw her knee buckle, your heart absolutely broke for Nixon Newell if you have been a fan of hers. Like, just seeing her go through that pain, her even trying to continue to fight. It's Rhea Ripley, that's right, Rhea Ripley. But, like, to go into that match and you just see her knee just give out, and they had to stop the match, just was absolutely heartbreaking if you were a fan of hers. And I've been a fan of hers for at least 3 years. It sucked, and it's great to see Tegan Nox back again. Dakota Kai and Women's Champion for SmackDown, Bayley, reacted. Kai wrote, but most importantly, she's back. Can't wait to watch your journey, Tegan Nox. The first, again, of many more. Tegan, of course, Dakota Kai is out with a ACL tear of her own. She'll be back probably around November of this year. And then, of course, Bayley went, hell yeah, welcome back, let's wrestle. So, great to see that Tegan Nox is back. It just makes you, like, happy. I would like to see her go over to NXT UK, where she could probably be used a lot more. They have a lot of women in the US version that I think she's just going to be lost in the shuffle with her knee injury. So I would like to see her go over there. If it wasn't for the fact that I think Toni Storm is facing off against, Kaylee Ray for the title at NXT UK Cardiff, I would love to have seen Tegan Nox in Wales take on, in her home country, by the way, take on Toni Storm for that title and possibly win the Women's Championship coming back. But, semantics. The next date for the Saudi show for WWE has been confirmed. The next date for WWE event in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is now back to being scheduled for its original date of Friday, November 1st, according to Wrestling Observer. There's no word yet on what the show will be called, but it's scheduled to be at the King Saud University Stadium in Riyadh, the location of last year's Crown Fools in 2018. The most embarrassing match in Shawn Michaels' career. WWE reportedly made several recent changes to the November European tour, including rescheduling the UK Raw and SmackDown tapings because Saudis wanted the show to take place on a different date, but now it's back to the original date. Friday, November 1st will be a busy day for WWE as they have the Saudi show early in the afternoon, then a live SmackDown on Fox TV's episode a few hours later for the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. That's going to be interesting because this last Saudi Arabian show we had screwed up and gave us NXT TakeOver 25 in Bridgeport, Connecticut, instead of where it was originally scheduled, which was San Jose, California, which was, of course, going to be the next night after Super Showdown, or Super Letdown, if you want to call it that. Honestly, it's going to have to be a Legends/Raw event because there's absolutely no goddamn way Fox is going to allow people who are on their brand on their show in Saudi Arabia. You're not going to see Roman in Saudi Arabia. You're not going to see Randy Orton or Kofi Kingston or The New Day. They're all going to be on SmackDown Live that afternoon. The fact that they're going to have to have two different ring crews because usually that's why they changed NXT TakeOver from Bridgeport, Connecticut, because they didn't want to have to split their ring crews, one in Saudi Arabia and one in San Jose, California. And that's why they switched it up. Going to be interesting to see what Fox has to say about this November 1st date because WWE has to have a SmackDown on that day. I don't think WWE realized what they were doing because they had the Saudi Arabia deal in place before the Fox deal, and Fox is going to want them on Friday. And now they're going to have this show on November 1st, which is a Friday. It's going to get interesting with Fox and SmackDown coming up in October all the way to the end of the year, because I just have a feeling that there might be a chance that Fox cancels SmackDown before the end of the year. Independent, this is really sad, but independent promotion closes down for good days before a big event. Anybody who is a fan of Wrestle Circus, they are no more. The owner, Al Linhart, posted a statement to the public on Twitter and said that their event this Sunday was canceled. In the statement, Linhart explained that he was advised against bringing back Wrestle Circus by his most trusted peers and that it was his own personal and private life that led to its downfall. He also shared that those who purchased tickets will be getting refunds. The event, the Scorpio Sky Summer Circus show, had several AEW and Impact stars scheduled. The card included a main event of Christopher Daniels, Frank Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky versus the Rascals. Lady of the Ring Championship with Tessa Blanchard versus Jessica Havoc, and a mixed tag team with Darby Allin and Priscilla Kelly versus Will Allday and Alex Gracia versus Andrew Everett and Rosemary. Brian Pillman Jr. was also supposed to have his Wrestle Circus debut against JT Dunn this weekend. I've seen a clip of Wrestle Circus, or a bit of Wrestle Circus, on Twitch before. I don't know much about it. If you're a fan of Wrestle Circus, I guess Anarchy Wrestling or something like that's going to be trying to help out wrestlers and fans who are going to go to this to free tickets and to be a part of the show coming up on this weekend as well. It's never a good thing to see an independent promotion of any kind go down, because the independents is where all your favorite superstars come from. That is where the Young Bucks came from. That's where Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan came from. That is where Darby Allin came from, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, all the big names on both AEW and WWE have come from the independents or Ring of Honor, which of course is more independent than people wanted to admit. So this is not a good thing for them. That is terrible, and I hope that is what we're going to have to. If you were there for it, if you were going to Wrestle Circus, then it's a damn shame. I've never really seen a full Wrestle Circus. Don't know what it was all about, but it's not good. I don't want to see an independent promotion going down for any reason. If the guy had personal problems, hope he can get the help that he can, and hopefully that somebody will pick up the pieces of Wrestle Circus and build a new promotion for these guys and fans to go to. Moving over to the AEW section of this show, AEW on TNT is official. On Wednesday, I believe it was, they announced, TNT and AEW have announced that the weekly AEW TV show will air on Wednesday nights from 8 till 10 p.m. Beginning on Wednesday, October 2nd, the debut will take place 2 nights before SmackDown moves to Fox on Friday. The first AEW show will air from the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. The AEW will be announcing details on tickets this coming Monday. So yes, AEW is coming to Washington, D.C. for their first episode. I guarantee you that event is going to sell out. Do I think every episode and every show of AEW is going to sell out? No. This one is going to sell out because of the simple fact that this is history. This is the first AEW on TNT, which I hope that's the name they keep with, because I'm not really fond of Wednesday Night Dynamite. I think that is a stupid name. Hopefully that's just one of those fake names that they copyright to keep you off the trail. But anything Night Dynamite is just absolute ridiculous. AEW on TNT, I can deal with. But AEW had a presence on Los Angeles as the 2019 Television Critics Association Summer Press Tour continued. Eric Goldman noted on Twitter that Cody Rhodes, Brandy Rhodes, Awesome Kong, Nyla Rose, Jungle Boy were representing the company at the panel that began that day. Regarding the names of the weekly TNT TV show that was just announced to begin with on Wednesday, October 2nd, it was noted that the final title will likely be announced in the next week or so, as previously reported. It is believed that the show will be called Wednesday Night Dynamite, a term the company recently trademarked. Cody noted that AEW's more bloody content will likely be saved for big events and pay-per-view events instead of the weekly TNT series. Which, by the way, Vince McMahon did mention in the briefings that he did mention AEW and said, I don't think TNT will put up with the blood and guts type shit that they've been going through. And I'm like, that's not going to happen on TNT TV. That's going to happen on pay-per-view and Bleacher Report Live events. So Vince McMahon, and by the way, Vince McMahon actually outing AEW as competition makes Roman Reigns look really stupid. That's another thing. Vince McMahon actually said in the briefing on Thursday that AEW is competition. Yet Roman Reigns came out a couple weeks ago and said, no, they're not competition. Nothing's competition to us. Kurt Angle has come out and said they're not competition. When Vince McMahon and Stephanie and Seth Rollins have all come out and said it's competition, that makes everyone else who said it wasn't competition look that much more stupid. Cody reiterated how the AEW World Tag Team Title Tournament will be a fixture as the company gets going. He also noted that they have been listening to the fans because you can't predict their reaction as that is something AEW needs to lean into. Yes, that is something that Vince McMahon needs to lean into too, because Vince McMahon has a problem with predicting something that's going to happen, and that is just not the case. You got to listen to the fans, because if they react badly to something, then you know it didn't work. Roman Reigns was booed heavily for 4.5 years because Vince McMahon thought he was doing things right, and he thought, oh, I'll have him call Brock Lesnar a bitch. I'll have him make shit on Brock Lesnar, and fans are going to cheer him. It took him getting his leukemia back for the fans to cheer him, which, by the way, Vince McMahon has continued to book Roman Reigns the same way that he did before. Can I ask everybody, what makes Roman Reigns different now than before when Vince McMahon is booking him the same fucking way? Boring matches, boring on the microphone, and just really boring stage presence overall. Roman hasn't changed one bit. Oh, well, he had leukemia. Doesn't matter. It's okay to boo Roman. Just saying. Brandy also spoke about the kind of talent that AEW is looking for, noting that they are not looking for cookie-cutter performers to fill a certain role. She touted the diversity of the AEW roster. Brandy also talked about how the well-being of the wrestlers is important to AEW, adding that AEW will usually only ask the wrestlers to perform one night a week. Yeah, the cookie-cutter performers to fill a certain role kind of is 99% true, but then you have the librarians with Peter Avalon and Leva Bates. Let's kill that, please. Let's just kill that. Thank you. Well-being is very important to us, she said, noting that AEW wants the wrestlers to be able to spend more time at home and be healthy. Kong and Jungle Boy also spoke during the short panel. Kong said that she feels AEW is increasingly incredibly collaborative and ego-free, and she feels like she's heard, like her voice matters as the company is asking everyone for their ideas. Jungle Boy said that this is the first big promotion. He loves how available everyone is to lend advice and share ideas. He said, I can't ask for anything better. First and foremost, they might be incredibly collaborative. No company you ever work for is ever going to be ego-free. Everybody has an ego, whether it's small or huge. The only difference is everyone's ego is not as big as Vince McMahon's, which Vince McMahon has the biggest ego, and the only person in WWE who has a close to, if not bigger, ego is Triple H. That's why when Triple H wrestles at WrestleMania, his match is the longest every single year. Seriously, go back to the last few years and see who had the longest match on WrestleMania. It's usually Triple H. Just saying. So, yes, Wednesdays, October 2nd at 8 to 10 p.m., which is great, so that's always going to be fun. Now, before we get to TNT, we have All Out. And on the last episode of Road to All Out, it was announced that Jimmy Havoc, Darby Allin, and Joey Janela will face each other in a triple threat match. What for? I don't know. But this is the show we have so far. The triple threat match that we just talked about. The Best Friends versus the Dark Order. Winner receives a first-round bye in the AEW World Title Tournament. Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega. Cody Rhodes versus Shawn Spears with Tully Venture. Escalera de la Muerte ladder match for the Triple H World Tag Team titles. Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros. And in the main event, Hangman Page versus Chris Jericho. So that is your show so far. They need at least one or two more matches. They need to get a women's match with two on this show, and then we'll call it an even. I'm sure we'll have a buy-in, which we really don't need a buy-in, but if they want to do a buy-in, they're going to do a buy-in. And before we get out of here, let's talk about Fyter Fest and how many shows they will run. Fyter Fest was BR Live's second biggest event on the platform. A report published in the Wrestling Observer newsletter revealed that AEW's recent Fyter Fest event was the second biggest event to ever air on BR Live's service. Fyter Fest was a free broadcast on the service, only requiring signing up for an account. The only event that bested Fyter Fest traffic was a golf event that had Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson competing head-to-head this past November. Fyter Fest was the second ever event. Fight for the Fallen aired 2 weeks after Fyter Fest. While it didn't match Fyter Fest's audience, it did spur more subscriptions to the service. This boost is seen as a net positive and bodes well for the two companies continuing to work together for AEW events. The biggest reason why Fight for the Fallen wasn't as successful as Fyter Fest is the fact that it was 2 weeks later. If you would have had another week or two between Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen, you would have had probably a better build, and Fight for the Fallen would have probably doubled or been better than Fyter Fest. I hope when we get to next year, if they want to do this or what they want to do, we don't get events that are 2 weeks apart. It hurt WWE for as long as they did it, and it will hurt AEW as well. That's something that they need to learn. Do not do events like this 2 weeks in between. I know they made a joke about it on Being the Elite months ago, that yeah, we have Fight for the Fallen at like 2 weeks beforehand, 2 weeks after, we shouldn't do this, and then Kenny Omega talked them into it. Let's not do 2 weeks in between events. That's just not good for the company. How many shows will AEW run a year? With All Elite Wrestling finally announcing its official television start dates, the TNT in October, we're starting to get a good grasp of how the company will be structured going forward. According to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, there will be more shows that many may expect, considering they aren't doing the house shows initially and only televised once per week. It's said that AEW's goal is to run over 100 shows per year and even as high as 120. 4 of these events will be pay-per-view events, while 51 will be television, so that's 55. It's said that they will begin to have Saturday night house shows in the future, which will make up for the remaining shows. As far as top talent goes, they are expected to work 75 matches per year inside the promotion. They believe that they will allow them to keep their in-ring ability at a high level while also giving them ample time to rest up and stay healthy throughout the year. Which, yes, rest and staying healthy is the number one thing. WWE's biggest problem is that they have too many dates. The wrestlers wrestle 300 plus days a year. You see injuries all the time. Jinder Mahal's out, Nia Jax is out, Ruby Riot's out. A couple other people are probably out too. Fandango, who's just coming back recently, who's coming back soon, has been out since like November of last year due to ACL injuries. Tegan Knox was out for a good while. Dakota Kai is out right now because of injuries. They need to cut down. The 300 times a year is just too many events. That's another reason why the house shows are down, is because you're having your superstars go out there 300 times a year, and you're just not making the show as a special. I mean, yeah, back in the day, they did more house shows and more events than they do now. WWE needs to cut back on the 300 days a year to about maybe 200 a year, and I'm sure you would not have as many injuries. Yeah, 120 shows a year is probably good. That's a little over 2 shows a week. 2 shows a week, so that's not a big deal. But it's going to be great to see what AEW does. Wednesday nights are going to be interesting. That October to the end of the year is going to be interesting to see what AEW does. Will WWE bring NXT to the thing? We did talk about that on Thursday morning. Will NXT be brought to pretty much get slaughtered by AEW in the beginning? I don't care what WWE says about bringing superstars from Raw and SmackDown to NXT. NXT has been pretty much treated like the redheaded stepchild on WWE television for the majority of its time at the height of its popularity. So putting superstars from Raw and SmackDown on there are not going to help. AEW has an advantage over NXT anyway because NXT is taped while the AEW will be live. And you know the spoilers for NXT, so a lot of people are going to be like, you know what, I'll find NXT later, I'm going to watch AEW. And they'll find it another way, and NXT will be slaughtered in the ratings, and the good name of NXT will be destroyed. I can't wait to see what we're going to. We have SummerSlam in 2 weeks, NXT TakeOver Brooklyn in 2 weeks, which is looking to be an excellent card. By the way, Johnny Gargano street fight for the 2 out of 3 falls match, and Adam Cole made a singles one-on-one match. I want Hell in a Cell. Give me Hell in a Cell, William Regal. Make the third fall Hell in a Cell, please. But that is all for your Unscripted number 79 for July 27, 2019. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The Club. And also, started recently on youtube.com/The France Plays. I've been playing Call of Duty's main story for World War II. Make sure to go check that out. Leave a comment down there and let me know what you think. I do not have commentary on that just because of my setup right now. I hope to have commentary on later episodes, but for now, no commentary. Just leave me a comment on what you think of me playing through so far. And I'll see you guys on Tuesday for Monday Night Raw's review. I think I'm going to start doing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, and NXT until, of course, we get to Wednesdays in October. Until then, my name's LaFrance, and I'll see you guys later.